There are places in this world that hold time captive. Places where the past doesn't just whisper, it sings. Where every stone is a memory, and every shadow a secret. Jerusalem is one of those places. Today, we begin a journey part historical, part spiritual, and deeply human into a city that has been dreamed of, wept over, fought for, and endlessly reimagined for millennia. This is not just the story of buildings or borders. It's the story of faith, of people, and of a mysterious, sacred pull that continues to draw hearts across the world toward one ancient hill. The spell of Jerusalem, Jerusalem has been called many things: city of peace, city of David, the eternal capital. But its magic isn't in the names. It's in what people feel when they speak them. The city doesn't greet you like others do. It absorbs you. It pulls you into a rhythm that defies time. For some, it's unsettling how the air seems to shimmer with history. For others, it's comforting, like returning to a place you've never been, but somehow always known. Ancient sages once said that when beauty was distributed throughout the world, 9 out of 10 measures came to Jerusalem. Hyperbole, maybe, but anyone who has stood before the golden light cascading over the Judean hills at dawn will understand what they meant. Even in its decay, its cracks, and its chaos, Jerusalem retains a strange serenity, as if it exists not just in space, but in story, the geography of faith. But how did this place, perched on a ridge of limestone, become the spiritual epicenter for half the world? To understand that, we need to step back, way back to one man and one impossible request. On Mount Moriah, the God of the Hebrew Scriptures asked something unthinkable of Abraham: to sacrifice his beloved son, Isaac. That story, full of agony, obedience, and mercy, became a foundation stone, both literal and spiritual, for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This act, known in Jewish tradition as the Akedah, or binding, was not just a test of faith. It was the forging of a relationship between humanity and the divine, sealed on rock, not marble, not gold, just rock, solid, raw, eternal. That very rock, now shrouded beneath massive religious shrines, is believed by many to be the foundation stone, and from it, Jerusalem's spiritual gravity was born. When kings dream, flash forward to around 1000 BCE, a young warrior poet named David conquers a hilltop fortress held by the Jebusites. His reasons were strategic, yes, but they were also symbolic. This wasn't just a capital, it was a center. David's dream was more than political. He brought the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, a gilded chest holding the tablets of Moses, the essence of divine law. This act transformed the city into not just the seat of power, but the heart of holiness. It was his son, Solomon, who would fulfill the dream by building the first temple, a structure so magnificent that ancient texts describe it as the meeting point between heaven and earth. But even Solomon must have known this city would never belong entirely to kings. It would be fought for by prophets, priests, and later empires, a city beneath a city. Today, as archaeologists peel back layers of Jerusalem's ancient ground, they uncover more than ruins, they uncover testimony. Massive stones placed with mind-bending precision, hidden tunnels leading to forgotten springs, and wall remnants believed to be the very defenses faced by King David's troops. These discoveries aren't just academic, they're emotional. They remind us that this wasn't just a myth or legend. Real people lived here, prayed here, bled here, and some of their voices still echo. Quite literally, Hebrew, once considered a dead language, has returned to daily life, resurrected from scrolls and psalms to become the heartbeat of modern Israel. It is one of history's strangest miracles, a language spoken again after 2,000 years of silence. The temple's shadow, but Jerusalem's story is not a gentle one. After Solomon, the city would face conquest after conquest. Babylonians burned it, Romans crushed it, yet again and again it rose. Perhaps no moment captured both grandeur and doom like the Second Temple, expanded by King Herod in the 1st century BCE. Herod was a master builder and a political chameleon. His renovations turned the temple complex into one of the wonders of the ancient world, larger than a dozen modern football fields. To this day, remnants of his engineering baffle experts. Stones the size of boxcars, perfectly fitted together without mortar. Some weigh more than 400 tons. And yet, they've survived earthquakes, wars, and time itself. But no monument, no matter how glorious, is safe from politics or prophecy. Within decades, the temple would be reduced to ash, and the Jewish people exiled from their holy city once again. Personal reflection, the gravity of loss. Let me pause here, because this is not just history. This is heartbreak. Can you imagine what it would feel like to be torn from your spiritual home? Not just your house, but your center, your place of belonging, and to have it replaced by ruins? This isn't just the story of the Jews. It's the story of anyone who's ever lost something sacred, a place, a memory, a part of their identity. Jerusalem teaches us something universal, that the most precious things are the easiest to break, but also the hardest to forget. In the next part of our journey, we'll step into the days of Roman occupation, hear the distant footsteps of Jesus of Nazareth on the Mount of Olives, and witness how dreams of salvation clashed with the raw power of empire. But remember, this isn't just a tale of the past. It's a mirror, and if we're willing to look, we might just see ourselves reflected in the hills and hopes of this ancient city. Rome arrives and the world tilts. By the 1st century CE. Jerusalem was no longer the city of David's harp or Solomon's prayers. Now, it echoed with the march of Roman legions, the ringing of coins stamped with Caesar's face, and dangerous whispers of rebellion. The land of prophets had become a province of empire, but even under the weight of Roman rule, something stirred. The tension wasn't just political, it was spiritual. The people were waiting for freedom, yes, but also for something more. For someone more. It was into this cauldron of expectation and oppression that a carpenter from Nazareth walked into the holy city. When heaven walked through a gate, the Gospels describe the scene. Jesus of Nazareth entering Jerusalem, not on a war horse, but a donkey. To the untrained eye, it was humble, even foolish, but to those who knew the Hebrew scriptures, it was electric. This was prophecy unfolding. Zechariah had foretold it. Behold, your king comes to you, humble and riding on a donkey. This wasn't just theater, it was theology in motion, and Jerusalem was watching. Some cheered, some plotted, some wept. Imagine the emotional charge of that week. Jesus flipping over the money tables in the temple, challenging the very system that controlled access to God, calling out corruption, teaching under olive trees, praying under the stars in Gethsemane. It was all so beautiful and so doomed. The cost of speaking truth. Jerusalem is not kind of prophets. It never has been. Jesus knew this. O Jerusalem, he wept. You who killed the prophets and stoned those sent to you. He wasn't being poetic. He was predicting. Within days, he would be arrested, tried, and crucified just outside the city walls, in a place of skulls. Golgotha. Now pause for a second. Imagine standing at that spot, hearing the cries, seeing the sky go dark. Whether you believe in the divinity of Jesus or not, you cannot deny the weight of what happened there. One man, one cross, and an echo that split history in two. The temple falls again. Decades later, another wave of fire would engulf Jerusalem. The Jewish revolt against Rome, fierce and desperate, ended in catastrophe. In 70 CE, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple, the heart of Jewish life. Only one wall remained standing, the Western Wall. Today, Jews from around the world place handwritten prayers in its cracks. But back then, it symbolized loss almost too great to bear. Let's not reduce this moment to a footnote. The temple wasn't just a building. It was where heaven met earth, where blood and incense connected people to the divine. Losing it wasn't just losing a place, it was like losing the ability to breathe spiritually. Diaspora and memory. After the destruction, the Jewish people were scattered, some enslaved, some exiled, some choosing quiet survival over martyrdom, and yet they carried Jerusalem with them. not physically, but liturgically, in prayers die in songs, in the breaking of glass at weddings, in the phrase, "Next year in Jerusalem." This wasn't nostalgia, it was defiance, a refusal to forget, to let go. It is one of the most remarkable examples of cultural resilience in human history, a people torn from their home for nearly 2,000 years, still singing his name at every holy feast. Pilgrimage and power. Meanwhile, Jerusalem's identity was shifting again. The city that had seen Solomon's temple and Roman catapults now saw Byzantine churches rising and then fall into the crescent moon of Islam. Under the Caliphate, the Dome of the Rock was built its golden roof, now one of the most iconic sights in the world. It's not a mosque, but a shrine, and at its center is that same rock, the one tied to Abraham, to sacrifice, to origins. This tells us something profound. Even when the play is changed, the stage remains sacred. Christians, Jews, and Muslims all look to Jerusalem and see themselves, and in that overlap lies both the city's miracle and its tragedy. A city of three prayers. Walk through the old city today, and you'll hear it. The Muslim call to prayer rising from minarets, church bells echoing through narrow alleys, Jewish psalms chanted at the wall. Three melodies, one city, and yet, despite the beauty, Jerusalem remains fractured religiously. Politically, emotionally, every gate is guarded, every holy site contested. It raises a haunting question. Can a city be holy and broken at the same time? I think the answer is yes, because maybe that's what holiness really is, not perfection, but presence. A sense that God doesn't just dwell in temples or domes, but in the in-between places, the cracks, the wounds. Real story, a moment at the wall. I want to share something personal. Years ago, I visited Jerusalem for the first time. I wasn't sure what I believed. I was just curious. I found myself at the Western Wall, unsure of what to do. Next to me, a frail old man placed a folded note into the stone, then rested his head against it and began to weep. He didn't say a word, but I felt his prayer. I don't know what he was asking for. Healing, peace, forgiveness. But in that moment, I understood something. This city is not just built on history, it's built on yearning. In part 3, we'll explore how modern Jerusalem balances on the edge of eternity. We'll confront the deep divisions and fragile hopes, and we'll ask the ultimate question: what does Jerusalem teach us today in our fractured world? This journey isn't over. In many ways, it's just beginning. A city suspended between past and future. If you stand on the Mount of Olives at sunrise, you'll see something astonishing. Golden light spills across the ancient stones of Jerusalem. The air feels thick, like time itself is holding its breath. And there, on the horizon, rises the Dome of the Rock, brilliant, almost surreal. Nearby, the Western Wall waits in silence, while church steeples cast long shadows behind the walls. It's like every religion is pausing, waiting for something to happen, because in many ways, Jerusalem isn't just the city of yesterday, it's the heartbeat of tomorrow. Modern borders, ancient tensions. Let's be honest, Jerusalem today is complicated. It's divided not just by roads and checkpoints, but by stories, by what each group believes happened or should have happened. Israelis and Palestinians both claim it as their capital. Politicians use it as leverage, extremists use it as justification, and ordinary families, who just want peace, are often caught in the middle. The old city is barely 1 square kilometer, yet it contains more tension and more beauty than most countries. And here is the paradox: the very thing that makes Jerusalem holy, its spiritual gravity, is also what makes it fragile. 3 faiths. One center. Few places on earth carry this kind of emotional charge. For Jews, Jerusalem is where Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac, where the temples once stood, and where the Messiah is still expected to return. For Christians, it's the site of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. Every cobblestone in the Via Dolorosa whispers his final steps. For Muslims, it's the place where Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven during the night journey. 3 faiths, 3 truths, and yet only one piece of land. So how do you live with that tension? You can try to dominate, or you can try to understand a real story. The Olive Tree Cafe. Let me share a true story. There's a small cafe in East Jerusalem called the Olive Tree Cafe, owned by a Palestinian family, but frequented by Jews, Christians, tourists, and locals alike. One day, a young Israeli soldier came in and sat down awkwardly. He didn't speak Arabic. The owner, an older Palestinian man, brought him tea. They didn't talk at first, just nodded. But the second day, the soldier came back. Then again the next week. Eventually, they began to talk about coffee, about Jerusalem, about how hard it is to raise children in a city that always feels like it is on the brink. They didn't become best friends, but they listened to each other, and that was the miracle. Not a fire from heaven, not a treaty, just to human beings choosing empathy over suspicion. The lesson hidden in stone. When you visit Jerusalem, you see ruins everywhere. Layers of stone from every era, pagan, Jewish, Christian, Islamic, crumbled, rebuilt, burned, buried. It's like peeling back the skin of time, and maybe that's the point. Jerusalem teaches us that no empire lasts forever, no war ever truly wins. What remains, what survives, is memory, faith, story. You don't need to be religious to feel it. You just need to be human. This city is a mirror. It reflects whatever we bring to it. Hatred, it amplifies it. Hope, it nurtures it. The prophecy still whispering for many believers. Jerusalem isn't just a city, it's the countdown clock of prophecy. Some see signs of the end times. Others see the seeds of a new beginning. The rebuilding of the temple, the arrival of the Messiah, the final battle between good and evil. Whatever you believe, one thing is clear: Jerusalem keeps showing up. In headlines, in prayers, in dreams. Why? Because it touches something deep inside us, the longing for a place where heaven touches earth, where justice isn't just an idea, where peace isn't just a prayer, and maybe, just maybe, that longing is the real message. Personal takeaway: why this city still matters. You might be wondering, why should I care about Jerusalem? I don't live there. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Muslim. I'm not even religious. And that's fair. But I do say this: Jerusalem matters because it reminds us that human beings can care so deeply, so dangerously about meaning, about belonging, about stories that are bigger than themselves. In an age of distraction and cynicism, that's rare and valuable. Jerusalem doesn't let you stay neutral. It pulls you in. It demands that you choose cynicism or hope, fear or compassion. The city can break your heart, but it can also expand it. A final reflection: maybe the most important prophecy about Jerusalem is not about what happens next, but about what kind of people we become because of it. Do we fight harder, or do we listen better? Do we see it only as ours, or do we dare to share it? If God is truly present in Jerusalem, maybe He isn't shouting from the heavens. Maybe He's whispering from the spaces between us, in cafes, in alleys, in prayers we don't understand. And maybe that whisper is saying, if you seek peace, seek first to understand. So, next time you see Jerusalem in the news, don't scroll past. Remember its story, feel its heartbeat, because this city isn't just ancient, it's alive, and its next chapter might just depend on you.